Hey guys, Eric's UK here. Yesterday I watched a video by Robert J. Fremantle where he's talked about the upcoming Pathfinder MMO from Paizo and Goblin Works. And he touched upon a few things that he wanted to see and so on. And I thought I'd do a small video in response to this because I'm kind of looking forward, although nervously, towards what Paizo do in the Pathfinder MMO. Now I've played a number of MMOs, or given them a try anyway. Initially I tried the World of Warcraft because it has a free trial, and I hated it, I've got to be honest. For me, the graphics are an immediate turn-off. They're awful. They're trying to be cartoony and they've failed horribly. I played it for probably a couple of days and then I just turned it off and deleted it. The gameplay was fairly pants. I couldn't really tell what I was doing. But most of all, with that one, the graphics lost me. Pardon me. So that's one thing I think that they should be aware of. Come up with some good graphics for this. I then got dragged kicking and screaming into Dungeons and Dragons Online, which, ignoring the fact that it uses the Eberron setting, which I can't abide anyway. Again, I didn't like it. The graphics were still very cartoony, and worst of all for me, whenever you tried to attack anything, you didn't click on it or anything like that. You just kind of swung your weapons and hoped that you hit something, which I thought was a terrible way of doing it. I mean, if you've got a system that's as good as the D20 system, surely you can build that in. You don't have to rely on some kind of percentage-based mechanic that I'm told so many MMOs do. Actually use the D20 system. Again, that's something I would like to bring up in this case. Pathfinder is a phenomenal system. It's built off of D20. It should be easy to simulate that in an MMO environment. My friends and I then tried a couple of the superhero ones because Champions Online went free to play, and we played that for a bit. And even with that really cartoony graphics, it kind of felt right, so I didn't complain too much. But that got very monotonous because you ended up doing basically the same quests over and over again in order to level. Basically, it had a storyline, but you ended up having to do the same things over and over again, and that's something that turned me off, and we stopped playing that. Tried DC Universe Online, but I'm a Marvel fan, I've got to be honest. I don't rate the DC Universe. I'm not a big fan of it, but that's an entirely different topic. But again, I found that one very monotonous, which basically leaves me with two other MMOs that I still play. One is Star Trek Online. I played that from the day it was released over here in the UK, and I played it for about a year. Gave up for about 6 months and came back to it, and have been playing rather intermittently on and off. I really like this. There are a few things I don't like with it, which is where they've moved the timeline along a little bit and they've tried to shoehorn in the necessary changes they've had to make for the appearance of the game. But I can let that slip. Pardon me. But what I really like with that is it has a storyline that's running from beginning to end, and you can play it. There are plenty of side missions. There are plenty of things you can do otherwise. But and the different factions, when they finally add them, there's only Federation and Klingon at the moment, but both have some missions of their own. And that makes a bit of a difference. My only downside with that, and this is again something I'd like to point out for the people at Paizo, at the end of the Star Trek Online experience, as it were, the storyline goes into you've got 2 or 3 storylines. You have the Borg, you have Species 8472, and somewhere in the back of that you've got the big bads behind it, which I won't spoil in case people are still playing it. But once you get to the end of the top tier story stuff, it goes from being playable solo to fleet actions, where you've got to do it in a group of 5. There's got to be 5 of you doing it. You can go in on your own, but you will die. Your ship will blow up, your crew will be killed, whatever. That, I think, is a terrible way of doing things. I know I'm going to get a little flack of this, I'm sure, because MMOs are massively multiplayer. But there are people like myself who we don't want to team up with random people we don't know on the internet. We either want to play solo and enjoy the experience, or we want to team up with our friends when they're on. Don't want to team up with random people. And not everybody has enough friends to log on and play as a group. I know we certainly don't. There's about 3 of us that play it. So we could never attempt to do the end of the storyline missions. And so my always complaint on their forums was to say, look guys, how about not giving us the cool gear, the cool drops during those missions, but scale it down to smaller groups and down to solo play, so you can still attempt to complete the storylines. But they've never done anything like that. Now the other one that I still play and actually pay for, as opposed to just doing the free to play things, is Lord of the Rings Online. Now I'm going to basically say here, Paizo, take a look at this, because this to me is pretty damn near spot on for what I want out of a role-playing based MMO. You have pretty much, and they're adding to it, bear in mind, they're adding to it, but you've pretty much got everywhere in Middle-earth you want to go. You start off in the west, in Lewin, you go through the missions there, you end up in the Shire and around Hobbiton and Bree. You do stuff further north of that, in Angmar. You've got the Lone Lands, heading out towards Rivendell. You've got the Mines of Moria, you've got Mirkwood, and all over that side. And they are slowly adding things like Isengard and so forth. You can pretty much go anywhere you want. And you can do it solo. I play it solo. I'm part of a guild on there because someone basically said, hey look, we're looking for members, do you want to join? I went, hey, solid it, why not? But I don't team up with any of them on there. I talk to them, and a couple of them have been really good and giving me some gear to make my character better. But I play it solo because that's how I like to play. The graphics are awesome. They're not cartoony at all. And the gameplay is easy. When I go to hit a monster, an orc or whatever, I know that that's the thing I'm hitting. I'm not swinging blindly like I am in D&D Online. And it feels like I'm part of that world. It feels like I am in Middle-earth. So to wrap up, before this goes on too long, what I want to see out of Pathfinder Online, I want to see decent graphics. I don't want cartoony graphics. Let's have something, I'm not on about ultra realistic, but let's have decent, good graphics. Let's have a system, let's have the system use the D20 system. You've got that rule book, you've got all the splat books, Ultimate Combat, Ultimate Magic. Slowly add all that in, but use that system. Don't use some kind of weird mathematical system other MMOs use. Use the system that you've already got. It shouldn't be difficult to program it. Don't just focus on one corner of the world. I know with Pathfinder they are trying to just do the River Kingdoms, but Golarion is bigger than the River Kingdoms, so let's slowly expand it as we go out. Obviously, to start with, you've got to have just one place, and you're going to have all your dungeons and your ruins and your towns and cities there. Awesome sauce. But don't just leave it there. Slowly expand it. Let us travel somewhere else. Even if you have to do it like get on a boat and go somewhere to reach somewhere like Absalom or wherever. And scale it to people that want to solo play. And not everyone wants to be part of a group. That's what I'm hoping to see from this. I've not been keeping an eye on it as much as I should do, but That's what I want to see, anyway. So before I drag on and get you all bored of listening to me waffle on, thanks very much for listening, and that's just my views on where I would like to see the Pathfinder MMO go. Till next time, take care.